out there. Spread a little aloha around the world. And breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome back, everybody. Breakfast with Bob, our not quite Kona edition. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by Master Spas. As fuels go longer, Hoka Let's Fly, Form Smart Swim Goggles, DeBoer Wetsuits, Zoot, the original triathlon brand, Premium Plus Sports, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation, our first 30 years. We've raised $159 million for CAF and sent out over 44,000 grants to challenged athletes in all 50 states and in 73 countries around the world. Our next guest, speaking of around the world, this is a young man who is going to be doing 120 long distance triathlons in 120 days, Challenge 120 on the infamous Challenge Roth course. Jonas Deichmann joins us. Jonas, I'm figuring you probably already had a good training day.
Yeah, hi Bob. I'm currently sitting in my camper van because I'm in Girona in a training camp, and I woke up at 7 in the morning for a nice swim in the pool, and then a 100K bike ride, and now I'm just coming back from the run.
So starting on May 9th, you will be living and breathing in Roth. You'll be doing Challenge Roth from May 9th through September 9th, and we're talking 120 races in 120 days. And what's fascinating to me is just when you think about doing ultra type of things, what led you to this?
Well, I'm doing ultra adventure since 2017. I was first doing cycling world records it was in Europe and Asia, the Pan America, it was Europe and Africa. And then I did a triathlon around the world, which was actually 120 times the long distance triathlon. But not in 120 days, of course. It was during the pandemic and Siberian winter and so on. But I do come from these long distances, and I always combined adventure and performance. And I'm now 36, so I'm kind of in the age where you feel like now is your the best time for trying something. Exactly. And I want to know what's possible. And there's nothing better than doing the long distance triathlon as many times as I can, and there's no better place than Roth. It's in the middle of Germany, and it's a legendary triathlon.
There's no question. So when I see a guy and I look at 36 years old, but you're a guy who in 2014 you got your business master's in business development, 2012 BS in economics, sales manager for a Swedish IT company. Was there a point when you were doing all this where you thought, okay, this is great, I'm following my career path, but there's got to be something more than this? What was there a moment where you decided, okay, working a real job is nice, but this isn't what I want to do?
Well, I always had this dream of having my own company and going on big adventures, being independent, traveling around the world. And then there was actually a company party in 2016. I was just a bit more than 1 year in my job, and a company party, and my former boss said, well, Jonas, if you want to do a world record, fantastic, I will sponsor you. And we announced it in front of the company, and then he couldn't take it back. And a year later, I set my first world record cycling across Eurasia in the fastest time. And then I thought, like, well, I don't want to go back to the office now. This was well too good, this adventure.
So 2017, he's the fastest unsupported bike crossing of Europe, west to east, and fastest unsupported cycle crossing of Eurasia, west to east. 2018, fastest unsupported cycling crossing, Alaska? Where'd you go? Pan American? Alaska to
Argentina.
To Argentina. Oh my God.
Yes.
So what do you carry? What do you carry with you? What type of bike are you riding? How heavy is it? And what do you carry with you?
Well, my past adventures were always unsupported. That means I have bike packing gear on it. I have a small tent, sleeping bag, a mattress, spare clothes, food, toiletries, and some gear, but everything as minimalistic as possible. I even cut my toothbrush in the middle to save weight. So every gram counts. And that has been like how I did it for the past few years.
What's fascinating is back in the day when adventure racing was big, when you had the Raid Gaulois and events like that, that's exactly what they would do. They would go, for 24 hours. They carried as little as possible, cutting the toothbrushes in half, all that type of stuff. What has been the biggest learning for you during doing all of these unsupported rides and runs? How has it changed you as a person?
Well, the biggest learning is that with the right mindset, you can succeed so much more. You can reach so many things, because in the end, I don't have to be the fastest cyclist. I just have to be the one that never stops, that goes whatever the conditions are. If I'm in a snowstorm, I keep going. If I'm in the Sahara Desert, I keep going. If I have food poisoning, I keep going. And in the end, what I learned of my adventures, if you're a pro triathlete or a pro athlete in one discipline, the margin between the first and the second is so small that you have to be in this specific discipline like a world-class athlete. But to just be like very good, especially in the long distance stuff, the mindset is what really matters. So I wasn't a swimmer when I jumped into the Adriatic Sea, and I swam for 456 kilometers without being a swimmer. And now I'm an ultra runner, and I wasn't an ultra runner. And this is a nice thing. And now I'm a triathlete. So what I learned with my adventures is that if you have this mindset of never giving up, of like breaking your big goals down into small ones, and being an unconditional optimist, there's always a next step in another one. You will always find a solution, and this works with other disciplines too.
So obviously you've become a hell of a bike mechanic, because I'm sure you've had your share of flats and breakdowns. Have there been moments that have been scary for you where you're out in the middle of nowhere and like thinking, oh my God, am I going to live?
I had a few. Mostly it's, of course, traffic. Traffic is always by far most dangerous thing. Apart from that, I once got into a civil war in Ethiopia. That wasn't so nice, because in the village I was cycling through, they killed more than 100 people that day. I was just right in the middle.
Oh my God.
And it wasn't against me in the end, but still it's a situation absolutely horrible. And then when I was swim packing the Croatian coast, so swim packing is like you swim but without a support boat. So I swam for 456 kilometers and there was no boat following. I self-designed a raft and I pulled that behind while I was swimming with my supplies. So in the evening I could swim to shore, and then the next day I continue. And I had a few big crossings where I had to swim like 7-8K to an island or to a peninsula. And twice I miscalculated. There was a current or something like that. And I got into dark. And when you are a few kilometers off the coast and it's pitch black, you are alone in the sea. This is something I get used to a lot of things, but to that I never got used to. This is like just the limit of the comfort zone.
It's interesting because we live by the ocean here in San Diego, and as soon as it's dark, the ocean it just seems you don't go in there. It's for boating. You don't go in the dark water for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's more scary than pretty much anything else. So when you're out there swimming and you're pulling it, was there a point there where you're thinking maybe I should just get in the raft for a while here?
No, the raft. I was pulling the raft, so I could hang over the raft, but then I would just float to nowhere.
Be out there longer. Yeah, so you have to make that
exactly.
decision.
So I have to focus and now swim to the shore, and that as fast as you can, basically, or as calm as you can, and constant.
So years ago, I was interviewing an ultra guy named Dean Karnazes, who did 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 states here in the U.S. And I figured, who else has seen more roadkill than Dean Karnazes, running through all these states, right? And seeing what are some of the weird things you've come across during your cycling, running, swimming experiences?
Well, in terms of roadkills, of course, everything. And I've cycled to more than 100 countries.
Yes.
So there's a lot. The strangest things I have seen, the strangest experiences I had, they are just right across the border from where you live in beautiful Mexico,
Yes.
because Mexico is where crazy things happen every day. And my craziest experience is when I was doing the triathlon around the world. I
Yes.
originally wanted to run across the US, but I couldn't get in because I have been in Iran and other places before. It was a pandemic, so my second choice was to run across Mexico. And I went from Tijuana down to the Baja California Peninsula and then into Sinaloa. And at some point, a street dog followed me for 130 kilometers. And that became a national news story. And then suddenly I was famous in Mexico as the German Forrest Gump. It was daily on national news. And I had thousands of people joining. And I got my own police escort. Sometimes I had like entire police departments running with their weapons, their machine pistols in their hands next to me. And that was like so crazy. And things like that happen every day in Mexico. So in Mexico got me a surprise every day.
The thing, and when I've interviewed people about when they do these type of excursions, the one thing they talk about the most is the kindness of people internationally.
Yes.
That people are they're just nice. A lot of times we're scared to go to certain parts of the world because we've heard all these awful things. But when you get there, you find people are people. Doesn't matter. I mean, you speak like 6, 7 languages, and so you can converse. But just the fact that there's sort of a universal language of you're trying to do something nobody's ever done before, and people want to help you do that.
This is beautiful. I met wonderful people everywhere in the world. I've cycled 2 years ago. I cycled across Ukraine and then across Russia, and I met wonderful people on both sides. I have cycled across Iran and across Sudan, which funny is actually when I was last time in the US now, the border guards immediately it took me to the room for questioning what I have been doing in Iran and in Sudan. And to be honest, it's the friendliest people I've met in my life. So the government and the media are something different than the people in those places. When you come on a bike, then or you come running, then people are nice and friendly everywhere in the world.
I love it. So, but most of these adventures you've done, you're going from point A to point B. This one, you're going to be in Roth doing the same event every day. Are you concerned about that, or is it another cool challenge for you?
It's another cool challenge. I'm not concerned about it because this is different. I mean, I have done challenges where I cycle 300K a day. I just last year I did a double crossing of the US, first cycling and then running back one ultra marathon every day. But the entire challenge road is from the physical part is still a little bit more. So for me, this will be the biggest challenge of my life, physically at least. And I am not worried about doing the same course because, first of all, Roth is a very nice race course.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
I do have some, I'm quite known in Germany, and I'm sure that the triathletes from Germany, they will come and join. So this will be a big community event. And in the end, if I have somebody running with me every day and cycling with me every day, and then this won't be boring. It's a lot about the community and the people who join.
One time we had that same ultra runner, Dean Karnazes, we were doing a marathon on Catalina Island, and I invited him to come run the marathon. He said, well, can I do something before? Because you take a boat over to this island. So he decided he'd run 100 miles, kayak across, and then run Catalina Marathon. And so we let people know they could run with Dean. And he goes, the worst part about that is I'd be running and everybody would jump in, would be running fast, right? Because they're running 5 miles or 8 miles. I'm running 1,000. So I'm running 100. So I'm not running that fast, but they sort of forced me to run faster. And it was like he ended up finishing like 8 hours faster than he thought he was because all these people running fast. Have you found that when people come and run with you, all of a sudden your pace increases?
And I know the risk. And I had this at when I ran across Mexico, for example, that there are always people who don't run after me, they want to go ahead.
Right.
So I will simply have my pace. and I will have it on the watch and on my Wahoo, and I will follow it.
Got
And the thing is, actually, I'm actually participating at the proper challenge Roth. So I'm doing the original challenge Roth 120 times, but I'm also starting with the pros at the race.
Yes.
For me, that's number 60 half time, and I do another 60 loops. And this is actually exactly the same. I will be in the race. I will be if I start quite in the front, I will be overtaken all day by other athletes, and a lot of them I know I would be stronger, but I do have another one tomorrow and the day after.
And for another 58 days, yes.
Exactly. So this is the challenge, to not get into kind of carried away into the race mode, because I mean, as an athlete, if you are on the final 10K of the marathon from Challenge Roth and somebody overtakes you and you know you are faster, but I know I have to run my pace, this will be the day where I'm just looking at my watch all the time. Don't get carried away. Run the same pace, the same 12 hours like you did yesterday.
So in Mexico, that dog followed you. How long did the dog follow you?
For 130 kilometers.
And what eventually happened? Did he finally get bored?
No. She followed me everywhere. She slept in front of the tent and waited in front of the supermarket. She followed me everywhere. But I went around the world, and I know I couldn't take her. So I was on a small TV channel, and I looked for somebody to adopt her. And then she got adopted, and that became the national news story. And then she became Mexico's most famous dog, and I became the German Forrest Gump in Mexico.
What's the dog's name?
La Coqueta.
Is there a meaning to that?
Well, it's La Coqueta is Spanish for, if you translate it, it would mean something like a flirtatious lady.
Okay.
Like a lady that makes nice eyes to everybody.
Yes. Well, 100 followed you for 120 kilometers. That's that.
Exactly.
Yes. So throughout this, how have you dealt with injuries? Have you been able to avoid injuries? The fact that you're doing something every day, it sort of puts a lot of pressure on not to be injured or to be able to run through things.
Well, the thing is, I don't really have any injuries.
Good.
I had, of course, when I started the run, after not running for some time, you have some sore muscles, but that will pass. I never had any serious running injury, and I'm saying running because running is, in my opinion, the only discipline where the 120 challenge where I could get injured.
Right.
Because the thing is, swimming in the end, I'm not the best swimmer. It's my weakest discipline, but still 3.8K swimming. I never had any problems with shoulders or anything.
Good.
It's just to get through with as much energy left for the rest of the day. Cycling the same. I mean, I never got injured cycling. The thing is really the marathon in the end. So for that, I do a lot of running training. I do stretching.
Yes.
Now in preparation, and in the end, take an easy speed, and avoid being injured. But I know the risk is different because of my past projects. There was always the possibility, if I get something, I can do an easier day.
Right.
If you usually run 50K, now you run just 40, you give your body the chance to recover. And the next day you can do a bit more. And now it's one challenge Roth every day, whatever comes.
So when you're doing challenge Roth, because most of the time you're riding a bike where you're self-contained, will you ride more of a tri bike when you're doing challenge Roth every day?
Yes, this is now my first and only fully supported project. So
perfect.
Yes. This is, otherwise it's not possible. I have to. It's too far for that. So I do have my dad. He will be my support crew, and we have a little flat in Roth for those 4 months.
Nice.
And so it's fully supported. I have the best gear, a very fast tree bike, and everything will be perfect.
It's going to be like a luxury trip for you. This is going to be catered. You're going to your dad out there. You got a nice place to stay. This is going to be fun.
This tour, I even get a massage, and this is like kind of like a vacation, you could almost say.
This will be your.
Well, ask me that again at day 10.
You'll be creating a travel. This will be a travel company. Come do 20 Ironmans with me. Come do 20 Challenge Roth events with me. Fully catered with support crew. That becomes a company for you, Jonas.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a niche for that.
Totally a niche for that. So do you ever miss your past life working at a company, working for other people?
No, not at all. I live my dream. I won't change it for anything.
So nutrition wise, you've been doing this for a while now, going back to what, 2017 or so. How have you changed the way you eat on a regular basis and also during, fueling during your workouts?
Well, it's a little bit different. At my past adventures, unsupported, if you cycle across Russia or you run across the Midwest, there is not that much choice in terms of nutrition. You have to eat what you find.
Right.
So when I went across Kansas, for example, that means you eat at gas stations, and that can be a burger, it can be a slice of pizza. It is whatever I find. So my nutrition strategy in the past was always as much as you can and everything you find. And of course, it is changing now for the Roth project.
Right.
Now it's everything. It's perfect in terms of nutrition.
I love that. As much as you can, whatever you find. Yeah, when you're traveling across the Midwest of the US, you don't find the most nutritious stuff in the world.
Now honestly, I love the US. It's a beautiful country. But especially the Midwest in small town America, the food situation is, it's for an athlete, it's horrible. It's horrible. There's really, you can, I mean, I take an example.
Yes.
I take an example. So you may know Casey's. It's a big gasoline chain in the Midwest.
What's it called?
It's called Casey's.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big gasoline chain. They have a gasoline station in every small town. And while I was running through, they had this big advertisement, the Midwest breakfast, and it was a slice of pizza and a Coke.
That's it. That's a breakfast.
That's it. That's a breakfast, exactly.
So one of the things that Dean would do when he was doing his 50 marathons, 50 days, 50 states, he'd call a pizza parlor and order a pizza to be delivered, like to a street corner where he was going to be running. I mean, he told them, don't cut it, just so I can roll it like a big burrito. So he would just get and he would roll it up like a burrito and eat it as he ran. So, I mean, I'm guessing that when you do these type of things, you're so in tune with your body. Do you end up losing weight during these long adventures? Or do you find yourself, your body so well that you're able to maintain about an even weight?
It depends on the discipline. When I'm cycling and I'm in a region with good food, like in Europe, for example, where you have not only good food, but you also have a city all a few kilometers. So there is good food all the time. At that point, I can pretty much keep my weight.
Yes.
When I'm running, I'm losing a lot of weight. And also when I'm running in cycling in areas where, well, the distances towns are far away, then it gets more challenging, of course.
Have you done the Roth course before?
Not entirely as a race, but I tested most of it before last year. Yeah.
So the one of the big draws that you'll love on race day is Solar Hill, where you'll have 50,000 people screaming for you. I'm imagining that as you go on this, you're going to have more and more people each day out there knowing about what time you're coming by to be cheering for you. That's going to be a lot of fun, because I'm guessing a lot of times you don't have many spectators out there.
Exactly. So I want to be as consistent as possible, which means I'm aiming for 12 hours on a good day.
12 hours. Okay.
12 hours on a good day. Of course, there will be maybe days where it will take 13 or 14 hours. But on a good day, I'm calculating my split times more or less 1 hour and 15 for the swim, because I'm really not a good swimmer. 5.5 on the bike, and then a 4-hour marathon. Plus, of course, I need a lunch break because I'm fueling with gels and bars and everything that's out there.
Yes.
But I do need still a proper meal during the day, because it's an eating competition. During a triathlon, it's probably around 10,000 calories a day, what I
Yes.
will need. So you need to eat 10,000 calories, and that's just with gels for 4 months. I don't want to eat. I love gels, but it can't be my only food for 4 months.
When we look at when you look at doing these long distance events, you mentioned the mental side of this, and the mental side of, if you're running a marathon, you can be thinking, oh my God, I'm only 2 miles into the marathon. You start beating yourself up. Or if you're doing the Ironman or Challenge Roth, I'm only a quarter of the way through the swim. I'm going to be out here all day. I've got 12 hours. I've still got 11 and a half to go. How do you break things down? How do you stay positive when you're not just finishing day one, you're finishing day one of 120. How do you keep that from beating you up?
That's a big secret, that you have a big vision, visualize the positive things, like the highlight, like the number 60, for example, the event. But in day-to-day business, break it down into small goals, and don't be demotivated by everything that still comes. And the thing is, even though if I feel horrible on day 3 or day 4, I know that it doesn't have to get worse. You can recover from everything.
Right.
And I always say I run to the next chocolate bar. So yes, I have those small milestones ahead. And if I know, like in 5K, there's something nice to eat, or there comes some kind of highlight, or I know Solarer Berg and the people are there, and those kind of things you have to dream about the entire day, every day.
Well, I've talked to a number of ultra folks over the years, and one of the things people will mention is when they finish that big goal, they're riding across the US, whatever they're doing, it's almost a little depressing the next day, because they're like, you've accomplished this, right? You've accomplished this huge goal. Now what? Do you start planning your next venture while you're doing this one?
Always. There's exactly at that point. It can be on a big challenge. I mean, if you wanna win Hawaii once in your life, and you win,
Yeah.
what's
What next?
there? The next, what's next? What's next? What do you wake up every day for?
Exactly.
And the same actually is if you do a trip around the world and you come back from that. A lot of people actually have depression afterwards, because they don't know what to do. And the good thing is, well, I have a lot of time to think about if I'm doing my past adventures and now on the next one. And I always come back with a lot of new ideas. And for me, it is, I'm sure when I'm finished on the 5th of September, I will be happy the next day that I don't have to do another challenge Roth. And I'm happy to do a few weeks or a few months where I'm just a normal amateur hobby athlete that cycles and runs and swims just for fun. But I know that deep inside me there is already this idea for the next project. And the good thing is I know I will do it, because it's my job. I have the free time and everything. So I don't know exactly. I don't need a starting date for the next one, but I need this idea already in my mind, that the day I finish the project, it's a few months of recovery. It's a few months of doing something else, but there will be the day where I start preparing for the next one.
So when I look at all of your 2017, again, fastest unsupported bike crossing Europe west to east, and then unsupported cycle crossing Pan America, and then fastest unsupported cycle crossing South Africa north to south. Of all these challenges, and then Cape to Cape, and then the swim, the one that of all these, that would bother me the most is the longest unsupported swim, that Croatia, just swimming for that long when it's just you looking at the basically a lake for the whole time. That would be for me, that would be the worst, because you can't talk to anybody. You can't really communicate at all. For you, what was the toughest one?
Well, definitely the triathlon around the world with everything on it.
Yeah.
I would say the 456K swim packing journey. It took me 54 days of swimming. Swim packing is a wonderful discipline to have a guaranteed absolutely miserable time. Because the thing is, if you're swimming unsupported, the distances are so much longer and you cannot calculate it because you don't know all the currents.
Right.
If the wind changes and you get like small waves from the front, you will be super slow. And if there's a harbor at 20K ahead where you want to go swim, and because I had to swim into the harbor, get out of the water, walk to the supermarket and go back at the same spot. So if I calculate, okay, it takes me 1.5 days to get there, but now there's a current. Now it takes 2 days or 3 days. I'm out of food. I'm out of water. And that every day, constantly.
Wow.
Also sleeping spots. The thing is, when you're cycling and it's sunset and you think, well, now I need to find a nice spot to pitch my tent. You can do another 10K, you can do another 20K, and you will always find a spot. When you are swimming, well, 2K that's quite far in the end of the day.
Yeah.
If sunset comes, you don't want to end up in the dark. So you kind of want a spot now on the next 500 meters. And or the next kilometer. And if this is a rocky coast, well, quite often I ended up in the rain without a tent somewhere on the rocks. So it's swim packing is tough.
That is brutal. We had they have a race here where one of our challenged athletes, he had his same thing, swim packing, but he swam with a bag that he actually tied around his ankle, I think. But he had his prosthetic leg in there that he had to tow with him and he had to keep that dry because then he had to run into the thing. So yeah, the swimming and carrying stuff that's not a good combination. Any issues camping? You usually find campgrounds fairly easily, place to put your tent?
Mostly yes. In most places I cycle or I run until dark and pitch my tent somewhere or sleep outside, and I'm gone at sunrise, so usually I don't have any issues. It was quite challenging in some parts of the US because every square centimeter is private.
Yes.
Yes, and it's also, most people in the US are super friendly and nice, but you do want in the US you don't want to pitch your tent without asking on somebody's ground. You don't want to do that.
No.
You may end up with the wrong person, and then you are in big trouble. So it's sometimes really if you look for 10 for 20 kilometers, there is just no place where you could pitch your tent.
We have one guy who rides his bike across the US every year to raise money for our foundation, and he is telling me that he stays at churches, stays at firehouses, that people are so kind. And when people find out what you're doing, they'll just offer to let you stay at their place.
Exactly. So in the villages, you always find a place to stop. But distances are long. And the thing is in the US, you really have to ask the person.
Of course.
And it's all private. I think that the big difference is in other countries, there will be a small forest, or there will be a small path or so where you can go down and pitch your tent, and the land belongs to nobody or nobody cares. And in the US, it will be all private. There may be a barbed wire around it, and without asking, you don't want to do it. So and it can be far away to the next distances are long in the US. So in the end, I always found a good spot, but it wasn't so easy in the US.
Love it. Jonas, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch your journey. Now, you're documenting this? Are you doing a film on this, book on this? How will you be following it?
Yes, everything. So you can of course follow it on all social media channels.
Okay.
And I'm also doing a book about it, and a documentary film, and a speaking tour afterwards.
Very cool.
But the the best way to follow it, of course, is to come to Roth for one day during those 120 and join.
We're hoping we'll be doing our show from there again this year, so that'll be fun to come out there and be part of history. It's going to be really, really cool.
Perfect.
And if the people from Challenge Roth, Felix and his family are just amazing, right?
Oh, it's wonderful. The thing is, so I first had this idea, I want to do the most long distance triathlons in a row. And then I had this idea, okay, I want to do 120 because I did 120 around the world. And I was thinking, where can I do this? Want to do it at home? Want to do it in, maybe I thought about Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then I thought about Roth. And I thought like it has to be, well, Hawaii is cool, but Roth, that's in Germany. And every triathlete I talk to says, well, Roth is, everyone loves it. And when I went to, so I got an introduction to Felix, and I met him, and I told him I want to do that, and he was like, there wasn't a single second of where he was thinking about it.
No,
he just
it was done.
and said, his words were something like, I always dreamed about somebody doing that here at my race. And so yeah, it's fantastic. I have like a wonderful support with everything. It's a fantastic family and race.
I love it. Jonas, thank you for being so kind with your time today. I know you've got a pretty tight schedule with trying to get swim, bike, run in every single day, weights, flexibility, etc. Thank you for taking time, and hopefully we'll be seeing you at Challenge Roth during when you actually do it on race day.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see you in Roth, and you can join for a few kilometers.
I love it.
The day before or after the challenge.
I love it. Jonas Deichmann has been our guest. He is going to be doing 120 Challenge Roth races, not races, 120 Challenge Roth adventures in 120 days. Congratulations on everything you've done, Jonas. I love people who basically make a decision that, this working in a cubicle, working in an office isn't for me. I need to be out there and doing what makes me happy. And this obviously makes you happy.
Exactly. Just have to do it.
I love it. Again, this is Breakfast with Bob, our Not Quite Kona edition. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See ya.